Hi guys, my name is Patrick, but you can call me 26. And what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about why using Observable is more efficient than using ObservableObject, right? And you could have a look at my latest video course where we build a SwiftUI e-commerce full stack application. And in it, we use we build the backend with Node. We use Swift data to store the cart locally. We conduct networking calls to the backend. We build the front end and the backend. And we also incorporate Stripe. So we incorporate Stripe into the project so that the user can also buy products, right? So if you want that, have a look at the link in the description and you can see the first 12 hours of the 26-hour course available on YouTube, and you can get the course in the description, right? So thank you, and let's get to work. So the first thing we want to do in order to show, let's look at how exactly ObservableObject works so that we can get to know why the observable macro is better than it, right? So we're going to create an observable object, and how you do that is pretty straightforward. We just come in, we say this one is going to be class VM, and this is going to be an observable object, and published is going to be count, which is going to be an integer like so, but you're going to have two counts, right? So we're going to have count 1, and then we come here and hit Command D, and then we're going to have count 2, right? So we have two counts there, and we can keep track of them with published, right? Now, the next thing we could do is we want to create views called count. So let's come down here, and we're just going to say struct like so, and this one is going to be called count 1 like so. Count 1 is going to be a type of view, and we hit that, and we're going to come here, and we're going to get an environment object at environment object like so, and this one is going to be called var VM, is going to be a type of VM, right? Now it's complaining because it doesn't conform, so we could come here, hit that, get this, right? Or better yet, just come here, do this, and say var body is going to be that, right? Now instead of a view here, what you're going to have is, yes, we're going to have a vstack. We're going to have a vstack, and with the increment button, it was perfect, it was on the money, right? We just have a vstack like so. Maybe the spacing, and that's going to be that, right? So that's going to be that. We're going to have the count, which is going to be the VM.count, and the spacing, let's make it maybe 20. That's 20 is plenty. And here we're going to have count 1, and this is going to be VM.count1, right? Now we need count 2. So what we could do is we could just copy this, right? Or hit Command D on that. Copy this, create, hit Command D, come here. This is going to be struct, and this is going to be count 2, right? Count 2 like so. And what is going to be different in particular is we're going to come here and we say we want just before the vstack, actually we're going to say let underscore, and this is going to be called the self dot underscore print changes, right? So this is going to print changes every time the view re-renders, right? So that you can see how it's called, right? Then we could repeat the same by coming here, copying this, doing this, coming here, doing the same, right? So that's going to be that. And here we wanted to show count 2, and then we could have count 2 here also, right? Now we have the two of them, and here in the text, instead of saying okay, what we could have here is going to be the actual, and here instead of count 1, we should say count 2, because it's count 2, the struct, right? And here what we want is going to be the various counts, right? We come here and we say count 1, and then we have count 2, right? And of course it's going to crash because it's not available here. We don't have it available. And what we need to do is we need to go to the entry point of our app here. And what we want to do is have our state object. So we come here and we say this is going to be a state object like so. And this one is going to be called var VM, and it's going to be a type of VM, right? So like so. And then we put it in the environment object. Come here and we say dot environment object, and we pass in the VM, right? Now what you're going to do is we're going to run this. So we just hit Command R or hit the play button, and that's going to run it. And then what we want to do is we would like to increment count 1, right? Because as you saw, we do have an increment button. I already put it, right? We have an increment button, and the button just gets a binding, and what it does, it increases the value of the count that calls it by 1, right? So we can use the same button for either, right? So here it's count 2, here it's count 1. So depending on the VM that is passed into it, right? So let's wait and see how that works out, right? And then of course we need, so it's called the first time when we load it, right? So this is going to be VM change, right? So if we hit count 1, right, which is going to be count 1, we hit this, and count 1 is changed. And you see here, while count 1 is changed and count 2 is 0, both views are re-rendered, right? Because it's called count1 VM changed, count2 VM changed, right? If we hit count2 becomes 1, but both of them are called, right? So even the published variable that we are not changing changes when you call either one of them, right? So this leads to additional re-renders that might not be best place for us, right? Now let's do the same thing. Let's repeat the same procedure, but using observable macro and see what happens. Observable macro. So what we do here is we come here, get rid of the observable object like so, and then come here and say at and say observable, right? Observable, the first one, not observable object, but the macro, observable. And then when you do observable, we don't need published, right? We don't need published. And it's smart enough to know which one is being changed, right? So that's going to be that. Then afterwards, we need here, instead of environment object, this is going to be environment, right? And this is going to be environment, and we come here and we say this is going to be VM dot self, like so. And then we come here and we say var VM, right? And then afterwards, we come here and that's going to be that. Then the rest of it is going to be the same, except maybe we could come here and we say here in the count, what we'd like to do is use bindable. And what we're going to have here is going to be, after this, we could come here and we say at bindable. I don't know why it suggests bindable object. Bindable, and here it's going to be var VM is going to be the same as VM, right? So that's going to be that, and the rest of it can be left the same. And we might need to do the same for count2 also. So let's come here, copy this, come to count2, and do that. So come here, do that. That's going to be that. Then maybe copy the environment, because the environment is going to be slightly different. Same but different. Come here, do this, right? Get that there. Then afterwards, the increment button remains the same, right? The increment button remains the same, but now in our content view, what we'd like to have in our content view is going to be, we can pass in the environment here, right? So that we can get it. So let's just come here and we get the environment here, right? Come here, do this, come here, do that, like so. And then what we want to do inside is to get the bindable. So we could come here and we say, actually we don't need the bindable, because we would not be, would you be using it? Not really, right? So yeah, because you're not passing into that, right? Into count2. Okay, that's done. And then what we need to do is we need to go to the entry point, and here instead of state object, this is going to be state, and instead of environment object, this is going to be environment, right? So if you've done that, and it's the same all through, let's run it and see what happens, right? So that's going to be the case, and we see how it works now, right? So we come here, and of course this first time we run it, it's going to be changed, and we hit this is going to be changed, right? Now when we increment count1, you see only count1 changes, right? But count2 remains completely the same, right? Count2 is not changed. When we change count2, we only re-render count2, right? So in this case, you see that when we use the observable macro, it is a lot more intelligent under the hood. It figures out what exactly we're trying to change. Aside from it being less verbose, right? There's less stuff we need to type, right? It's more efficient when it comes to deciding which views to re-render. So that's why you might want to migrate from observable object into observable, right? Of course, it requires you to be using iOS 17 plus, right? 17 and above, right? But if you're using below iOS 17, you do not have that option. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.